contradiction it was.
I think it was saying that sin, basically sin is sin and sin is not sin, and so like sin is good and sin is not good, or it is
Yeah.
not the case that sin is good
Well,
when sin
here's how you
happens.
stop them dead in. This is how you stop them dead in the tracks. Okay. We don't need fundamentally to defend the God of the Bible from their slanderous accusations and impugning him. All you need to simply do is saying he's wielding the law of non-contradiction against the God of the Bible. Okay. What is the basis of the law of non-contradiction? How is it instantiated? What makes it real? Okay. He wants to hold that there is a universal, such as the law of non-contradiction, that he can deploy in reasoning and use that against the God of the Bible. Well, how is the law of non-contradiction real? How is it instantiated? What makes it the case universally?
Well, maybe we can ask Charles, because Charles was making this assertion that there was a contradiction between the goodness, God's.
Okay. So Charles, when you're calling into question the God of the Bible and his characteristics, are you employing the law of non-contradiction?
Well, my version of the argument was a little bit different. I actually with
Charles, stop. Charles, stop. I ask questions all the time, and people dodge. Okay. Now, what was my question that I asked you?
You asked if I was employing the law of non-contradiction for the problem of evil.
Would you answer that, please?
Yeah. Well, I am using the law of non-contradiction, but
okay, that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know.
Okay.
Now, on what basis do you instantiate that the law of non-contradiction is true?
I presuppose it.
No. I didn't ask you if you have a make-believe about the law of non-contradiction. I said, what makes it real?
I don't know.
Merely hold on a second? Is you merely believing something? Does that make it true?
No, not without.
Okay. Is the law of non-contradiction true?
I believe it is.
Okay. What institutes and secures the law of non-contradiction?
I think whatever is ultimate, but I don't know what is ultimate. So
you're saying that there is a universal, such as the law of non-contradiction, by virtue of I don't know?
No, not virtue by virtue of just me reasoning through it.
Okay. Listen. That is a completely ambiguous, non-substantive response. What is it in actuality that institutes and secures the actuality of the law of non-contradiction?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what institutes.
But you're affirming the law of non-contradiction by virtue of I don't know?
No, not by virtue of it. I'm saying I use it to make predictions in my life.
You're not focusing on my question. I'm not talking about your pragmatics. I'm talking about ontology.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
So you're invoking the law of non-contradiction as that is universally applicable ontologically. Is it by virtue of I don't know?
No, it's not by virtue of I don't know. I'm just saying
Okay, what is it then that imposes and secures the universal law of non-contradiction?
Whatever is the ultimate grounds of it.
Okay, I don't know that's a non-informative response. What is it that does that? Is there something that does impose it?
I believe so, but I can't prove it for certain.
Okay, but do you have a rationale that something does impose it?
Yeah, the rationale I use is just my pragmatic approach, which I admit.
That's not a rationale. So you are invoking a universal declaration as a basis to reason against the God of the Bible. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That universal declaration, what makes it real other than the fact that you believe it?
I have no idea. It might not be.
Okay, so then you now lose your ability to wield the law of non-contradiction. Okay. Do you believe in the existence of God?
I do not believe in the existence of God, but I don't claim to be for certain he doesn't exist either.
Okay. Well, when you invoke facts, do you invoke facts with the necessity of referencing God? Do you do that?
I do not.
Okay, so you invoke facts by choice without referencing the necessity of God. Is that correct?
Not actively, yeah. I mean,
No.
maybe
either you invoke facts with referencing the necessity of God, or you invoke facts without referencing the necessity of God. Which do you do?
I am not referencing the necessity of God.
Okay, so do you understand that there's only two possible worlds? There's the God world, where all facts necessitate referencing God, and there's the not God world, where all facts are invoked without referencing the necessity of God. So when you invoke facts without referencing the necessity of God, which world are you speaking out
of? Well, I believe I'm speaking out of a world where God does not exist, but I also
therefore what you do affirm about facts logically commits you to the non-existence of God.
See, that's where we disagree.
Well, you can, because it's ironclad.
Well, so the reason I disagree.
Would you like to debate it with me?
Yeah. Can I?
Okay. So can God logically coexist in a world where even one fact does not, in actuality, necessitate referencing him?
Well, a God could, but not the God you're describing.
No, sir. When we talk about God,
no, I got you.
Conversation, please don't overtalk me. When we talk about the word God in this conversation, we're talking about the creator-creature distinction, where God is categorized as the supreme being and the creator of all things and sustainer of all things that is not himself. That's what we're talking about. You do not believe in such, right?
I do not believe in that God. That's correct.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, when we talk about God proper in Western civilization, we're talking about the creator-creature distinction. If you're talking about any other entity that is not ultimate, as I have just defined, and you call it God, it's just a creature with superpowers.
Okay? Yeah, you're talking about like a lower G God.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily.
No, sir, necessarily. Okay, what I'm saying to you is not controversial. You may find it unacceptable, but it's not controversial. So your position is that there is no supreme being, creator God. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So but you see, you just tried to convey to us that you were merely unconvinced. But you've now just conceded that such an entity does not in fact exist.
So I was conceding that my belief state is that it does not exist, but I don't claim absolute certainty that it does.
Okay, so that's irrelevant. Do you believe it on rational grounds, or is your belief state arbitrary?
I believe myself to be rational.
Okay, what is the rational justification that God does not exist?
I use induction, and every mind that I've come across.
Yeah, that's a fallacy. Do I need to explain it to you?
Well, it's the reason I hold the belief state.
Do I need to explain it to you?
No, I've heard your explanation.
Okay, so do you understand and accept that what you just said is a fallacy?
No, I do not accept that what I said was a fallacy.
Can you use mere induction to come to a logically necessary universal?
Not logically necessary, but I'm explaining.
Okay, good. Then we're done. Then using induction doesn't get you to a logically necessary universal conclusion.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. All right. When you say God does not exist, is that a universal declaration?
What I'm saying is I believe God.
When you assert that God does not exist, when you say I believe God does not exist, okay, is that a universal declaration?
Let me think. When I say that I believe,
the answer is simple. The answer is simple. Yes, it is. Okay. This isn't rocket surgery. Okay. Now, here's the problem. Since you're not God, right, because you don't believe that God exists, merely believing something doesn't instantiate that it is, can be, or cannot be. So when you make any statements of universal declarations, okay, are you doing so because you have a rational basis, or is it in virtue of I don't know?
Like I said, I believe I have a rational basis, which is through pragmatism.
What is the rational basis by which you can tell us in a logically necessary way that any universal exists.
I can't do it in a logically necessary way, but I will.
Good. Then what you're telling us when you're giving us a universal, then it's a figment of your imagination.
It might be.
No. Is it a figment of your imagination?
I don't think so.
Okay. Give me your rational justification that is logically necessary that you're not just giving me a figment of your imagination.
Yeah. I can't prove it like with logic, like that it's logically.
So you don't have a rational basis for any universal.
Would you say that induction
No. Mere induction cannot get you to a logically necessary universal.
That's fine. Yeah, I grant that.
Okay. So are you, in order for you to, so you don't have any other rational basis for believing God doesn't exist, do you?
Nope. I just use induction and the laws of logic.
No. Well, no. Okay. Wait a minute. You do understand that when we talk about the creator-creature distinction, we're talking about God as the concrete universal. But you're invoking the laws of logic as a type of metaphysical universal, okay?
Yeah.
Now, do you have to have a reason to believe in God?
Do you have to have a reason to believe in God?
Do you have to have a reason to believe in God?
I think it would have to be revealed to you, right?
Do you have to have a reason to believe in God?
I think so, yes.
Okay. And in the absence of a reason for God, you withhold belief?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is that an arbitrary criterion?
I don't think so, but you may.
Okay. What is your reason? What is your non-arbitrary reason to believe that anything is universal?
Just induction.
Okay, we've already covered that. Why are you repeating something that was already debunked, for which you did not offer a counter rebuttal?
No, I'm just saying that's the reason that I have.
Well, okay, can you listen to me? Have you noticed how many times I've asked you a direct, straightforward question, and what comes out of your mouth bears no direct resemblance to my question? Have you noticed that?
I'm just trying to explain myself.
Okay, what is your rational justification? What is your rationally justified explanation for any universal other than induction? Because we've already grounded that induction cannot get you to a logically necessary universal.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't have one. That's the direct answer.
Okay, so you are accepting a universal without reason, then?
Sure.
Okay, but you told me you have to have a reason to believe in God, the concrete universal. So if we classify God as the concrete universal, you require a reason for that universal. But if you don't have a reason, you dismiss it. But you see, you don't have a reason for, fundamentally for any other universal that you invoke, do you?
I mean, I gave you the reason I used that.
Do you have a rationally justified case for any universal?
No, I just presuppose them.
Okay, so you're violating your criterion of belief, then, aren't you?
At the fundamental axiomatic level, that's correct.
Are you violating?
Yes, I said that's correct. I said yes, that's correct.
Okay, good. So you've now admitted that your whole case against God is arbitrary, because when you say you need a reason for God and you don't believe in him because you don't have a reason, but you turn around and you believe in other universals and you don't have a reason, it means that your criterion for believing in God is an arbitrary one.
Yeah.
By the way, Darth, hold on. Can you guys hear me?
What, Brojo?
He's taking a phone call.
Charles, are you here?
You clearly and directly as I could, Darth. I'm just trying to
Charles,
explain.
Charles, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Charles, why do you sound like Bubs?
What?
Why do you sound like Bubs?
I'm not Bubs. I've talked to Darth before, like he
so
said.
your whole mental case against God is arbitrary, then?
At the fundamental level, yes.
Okay, there we go. So we just had an atheist admitting that his unbelief is arbitrary. Therefore, your unbelief is irrational.
Yeah, I don't believe it's irrational, but we don't have to go over that again.
Okay. So if people are arbitrary, you deem that as rational when people are arbitrary?
No, what I'm saying is that using
Are people rational when they are arbitrary for things that they believe to be true? Is that rational?
I think that everyone does that at the fundamental level. So yes, in
Okay, so
sense,
in other words, what you're saying is everybody's being irrational, but is that statement itself arbitrary?
from my basis, like from my fundamental basis, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
everything you say ultimately is arbitrary?
Um, at a fundamental level, yes.
Okay, so thank you for being transparent and admitting that you're irrational. Because if you're arbitrary about everything at a fundamental level, there's no point in listening to you because it's going to be rooted in just pure arbitrary.
Well, I would say that you guys are doing the same thing with God being.
But that would be an arbitrary declaration, wouldn't it?
Sure, sure. At a
Okay,
fundamental.
so why should we listen to any arbitrary statements?
Well, then I could ask you the same questions you just asked me, right?
No,
And
no,
we
sir,
can find out.
listen to me. Have you noticed how many times I've asked you a direct, straightforward, clear, circumspect question, and that you open up your mouth and I hear sound coming out, but the answer bears no resemblance to the question that I asked you? Did you notice how many
Go
times you've
ahead,
done that?
go ahead and ask the question again.
Yeah. Why should we listen to anything that you say when it's ultimately arbitrary?
Because I can show through the same questions that you use about your worldview that you're doing the
Okay,
same
but is that arbitrary?
at a fundamental level. Yes.
Okay, so why should we listen to anything that you say is arbitrary?
I mean, you don't have to. I guess you
Let
don't
me
have to.
ask you. Let me ask you this question: people who are consistently arbitrary in what they affirm, do most human beings consider that irrational?
If they're consistently arbitrary with everything they say, sure, yeah.
Yeah, at root, they're doubling and tripling down on what they assert is either directly or indirectly arbitrary. Do most human beings consider that irrational?
Um, I would say so. Yeah, probably.
Okay, so you are deploying what most human beings consider to be irrational.
But yeah, that's just to appeal to the majority, though. And the majority don't understand.
No. I didn't say they were right. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
for
an
sure.
appeal to
So I
majority
don't
of
get.
I just simply made a point that you are purposely deciding to deploy what the vast majority of human beings consider to be utterly irrational, right?
Yeah, I just no, I agree, but I would just say that most human beings don't understand the concept of axioms. They
Is that arbitrary?
no, I would say that that's just a fact for.
Is that statement in terms of its fundamental metaphysical root, is it arbitrary?
Oh, now you're getting to something that's not arbitrary all of a sudden. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, is there anything coming out of your mouth this afternoon that is not fundamentally and ultimately arbitrary?
It is all ultimately arbitrary.
Okay, thank you
Like,
for your time. Then there's no point. Then there's no point in listening to you because you see, you want to choose absurdity and arbitrariness, which is utter irrationality, rather than the mind of Jesus Christ, who has revealed Himself in creation. Because you
but
come up
that
with a
can't be
cockamamie.
because that's your
You
axiom.
see, but whatever you. No, I'm just saying we can choose between Christ and chaos. We can choose between Jesus, the Lord, Creator, and Savior, and irrationality and arbitrariness. And you've made your case that you're choosing absurdity and arbitrariness. Well, here's the bad news. You're embracing temporarily arbitrariness and absurdity, but you're also going to face when you die eternal absurdity because you're going to be separated from God. Because nothing that you have said here is a rationally based rejection of God's revelation of Himself whatsoever. So thank you for your time
Well, can
admitting
I ask you
that
then?
you no,
How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this problem?
you need to repent and accept the self disclosure of God in creation and through human history, ultimately and finally in the person of Jesus Christ, because God's revelation of Himself in creation and in history through Jesus Christ is self attesting, self authenticating, and it is impossible to deny, and by deny I mean instantiate the denial. So the only way that you can escape absurdity is by bowing to the mind of God and how He has revealed it. Choose not to do that for whatever verbal utterances come out of your mouth. Then, by asking a series of questions, you have conceded that everything that comes out of your mouth ultimately is arbitrary.
Well, how do I ground Jesus Christ in the Trinity and know that they're not that that's not arbitrary?
Okay, you must start with the revelation of God, that even your self-consciousness would be utterly meaningless were it not indicative and revelatory of God, because he purposed that. So in order to avoid utter absurdity, that nothing means anything, nothing is grounded by anything, we have to start with the revelatory actions of God, which is creation and including your self-consciousness. But you don't want to do that. You want to start with a non-neutral basis of a not God world, okay, which is not neutral, right? So you either start in terms of your self-consciousness is indicative and revelatory of God, or you start with your self-consciousness that it is not indicative and revelatory of God. Isn't that correct?
Or that it might be indicative of God.
No, sir. No, sir. There's only two scenarios. When you contemplate your own self-consciousness, you will decide at any given moment whether that consciousness is creaturely or it is to be conceived and invoked in your mind or by your mouth as being not creaturely. Which do you do?
Why can't I decide that it might be?
No, sir. You will do one or the other. When you contemplate and verbalize your own self-consciousness, do you do so in a way that references the necessity of God, meaning your consciousness is creaturely? Do you do that?
That to answer you directly, I don't do that, but also
okay. Then what you are doing, because of what we have here is a true dichotomy.
May I finish my
You
sentence?
are invoking your consciousness without reference to the necessity of God. Is that correct?
So if I could finish my sentence,
Is that correct? Is that correct?
Also, I want to add,
Are you invoking your consciousness without reference to the necessity of God?
That's correct. And I also
okay. You okay? But here's the problem then. Okay.
So I do both.
So could you? No, sir. It's either one or the other. When you contemplate your own self-consciousness, you will contemplate that consciousness as either attributed to God or without. Which do you do?
I attribute it to that it could come from God.
No, sir. I didn't ask you that question. I said either you invoke your consciousness with reference to the necessity of God, or you do so invoking your consciousness without referencing the necessity of God. It's a true dichotomy.
Yeah, I don't reference the necessity of God.
Thank you very much. So okay, good. So here's the problem. Since your mind is not derivative of the eternal mind, the absolute mind of God, and how he reveals it, then what establishes what your mind is, can be, and cannot be?
I don't know.
Okay, so therefore you are choosing absurdity over intelligibility and meaningfulness, that you are a creature of God.
And so how would your God get me out of that absurdity?
I've already explained it. I've already explained that to you. Weren't you listening?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the revelation. You've mentioned before.
Yeah, we start either with the revelation of God or without. Either our self-consciousness and our immediate sense experience, we will decide, is revelatory of God because he purposed it, or indicative of God, or without.
So then let's go one step farther back. Why should I accept the revelation of God, that it's not a deceit?
Because God's revelation is self-attesting and self-authenticating. And by rejecting the revelation of God in creation and through human history, you will plunge yourself into a metaphysical abyss of absurdity that you cannot. Listen to me carefully. It's a true dichotomy, my friend. There's not a third alternative.
No, but what I'm saying is,
listen to me. Do you want to dispute that I presented you with a true dichotomy?
No, I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying,
okay, so you are rejecting that anything is what it is. It possesses actuality, intelligibility by virtue deriving the mind of God. So you're rejecting that. So why does anything mean anything at all?
I don't know.
Okay, so for example, so the point is, so that when you invoke that something is, can be, or cannot be, it's all on virtue of I don't know. Well, that's the realm of absurdity, my friend.
Okay.
There's nothing identifiable or defensible. that makes anything what it is, can be or cannot be, or what it means.
Sure.
Now,
So
do you want to dispute that's your
no,
position?
I want you to help me escape this.
Do you want to dispute? Listen,
No, I
if
said
you
no.
die, okay, good.
I said
So
no.
we're done. You've decided that rather than bow to the self-attesting, self-authenticating nature of Jesus Christ through creation and through human history, recorded providentially and infallibly in the Bible, you've decided on arbitrary grounds to reject it because you said ultimately everything you believe is arbitrary. Do you recall saying that?
Yeah, no, I'm not denying it.
Okay, so your rejection of the revelation of God of Jesus Christ's self-identity claims, your rejection is arbitrary, correct?
Yeah. So can you help me?
And so everything that you can and do believe about anything is, can be, or cannot be is arbitrary then, right?
Sure.
So therefore you have now admitted, whether you realize it or not, you're in a complete realm of absurdity.
Okay. Now, how do I get out
So
of this?
you need to repent and come to Jesus Christ as Savior and recognize his revelation in creation through human history and ultimately incarnating himself and dying and rising again on the
But then,
cross.
how do I know if we go one step back that
You
revelation?
don't have because we have a true dichotomy here, my friend. It's either Christ or chaos.
Well, I mean, couldn't it be other gods?
Listen to me. Listen to me carefully. Suppose you got your foot. Suppose you're on the train tracks, okay, and you're going across the train tracks that's on a bridge over a river, okay? All of a sudden, you hear a train. You and your buddy are hiking on the tracks, and you hear a train screaming down the tracks at 60 miles an hour, right? It's too late for you to go forward or backward on the bridge. Now, you're either going to have to stand your ground and you'll be splattered into dog food all over the train tracks, or you're going to have to choose to drop into the water, okay? You have no alternative, okay? Do you understand the analogy?
Yeah, I understand the analogy. I don't think
Okay,
that.
now you can either jump into the water, okay, for safety, or you can stand and be obliterated by the train. Okay, do you
How do I know
understand that
I'm
that's
not
a
jumping in
do
the
you
water?
understand do you understand that that's a true dichotomous situation I'm presenting?
Yeah, in your
There
example.
have there have been people who have been faced with that exact situation. Do you realize that?
Uh, I'm sure there have.
Yeah, I've heard of it happening many,
Yeah.
many times where people choose to jump off the bridge into the water rather than die. So what I'm giving you here is a true dichotomy. Either you accept the revelation of God in creation and through human history through Jesus Christ, or you faced chaos and absurdity. There's not a third alternative.
Well, aren't there other gods? Aren't there other religions and
You're
other
not, you-
Are
you're not understanding because you see now what you're doing because you know the self-identity claims of Jesus Christ. You do not want to submit to him to receive his love and forgiveness and escape eternal separation. Now what you're doing is you're appealing to other models of reality that you don't even believe in.
well, what I'm saying is
Thank you. Thank you for getting you to refute your own system of unbelief.
no. So what I'm saying is, Darth, to
Did you hear
me,
what I just said?
yeah, that I'm refuting my own belief. But
You told me, wait a minute ago, you told me you don't believe in any gods.
that's correct. But what I'm
Okay,
saying,
so you don't, okay, so you don't have the luxury, of believe of putting any other gods on the table because you don't believe in them.
I'm not putting them on the table. If you could
You
just let,
just did. You said there are other gods.
right, there are other God concepts. I don't accept them at the.
Okay, well, God
I'm trying to figure out,
are any of these God concepts in ontological existence?
are they ontologically true?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so then you're wasting your time just invoking an idea. So
Well,
what you're now choosing, okay? See, we can go around like this over and over again. You are deciding to choose chaos rather than Jesus Christ.
yeah.
And
So
guess what?
get out of
God is going to give you, when your heart stops, he's going to give you what you want, and that is separation from him for eternity.
okay.
You
So
know,
if
Romans 1 says, ever since the beginning of the creation of the world, God's eternal powers have been clearly seen through what has been made, so that men are without an excuse. But their foolish hearts were darkened, and they turned and they worshiped creation. But you see, you don't have an excuse. Okay, and the word excuse there is apologia. It means a legal defense. You don't have a rational defense for your rejection of Jesus Christ's self-testimony, do you?
Not at a fundamental level. May I
Right.
say what I
So
was trying to
Paul,
say?
Paul in Romans 1 was right when he says you are without a rational defense. You're without an excuse, aren't you?
No, I think I'm with an excuse.
Okay, but is it? You told me that it's rooted in arbitrariness.
Uh-huh.
Would any judge or
Yeah,
jury
God is.
in the world accept purely arbitrary statements on part of the defense?
It depends on if my psychological state was impacted by an all-powerful being.
Okay, yeah. You know what? You just love dodging. Hey, listen, we're
No, I
done.
answered the question. It depends.
We're done for the entire conversation
Okay.
because you have a prime directive, and that is to preserve and protect your autonomy of reason. But I've showed you that your autonomy of reason doesn't mean anything because there's nothing identifiable or defensible that makes it what it is. You decided to reject Jesus Christ and his self-identity claims and his incarnation, his death, burial, and resurrection, and his further revelation through his handpicked apostles. You've decided to reject his self-testimony, and
Darth,
now
notice.
we're done. We're done because you have
Darth,
admitted
notice what he's
everything you
doing
say.
now.
Okay, hold
Notice what
on.
he's
Let
doing
me
now.
just say one more thing. We're done. You have admitted you are embracing chaos. You have admitted that everything you say at its root is arbitrary. So we're done. Anything that comes out of your mouth when I stop talking is just arbitrariness. So we're done.
And notice
Well,
what
he's
he
a
was
Christian
doing the
anyway,
entire
but
time. What
he's
he was
completely
doing was
lying.
saying, well, I don't have a justification ultimately or fundamentally, as if to presuppose on some lower level or some local level he can't have one. Well, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to slip this sort of local justification as if that's enough. But the ultimate justification is not
What he
needed.
tries to do is verbal and semantical gymnastics in order to try to obfuscate the situation that he's in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done. He's decided that he wants to choose chaos over Jesus Christ, and so this line of apologetic that I've given brings complete and utter conviction of one's, guilt and culpability before God, something that evidentialism does not do.
Yeah, and I
Dawn.
think Charles lied the entire time anyway. I think he was just BSing.
Of course he is. But at least we got
Because it
far
sounds
more transparent.
identical to an.
Yeah. But at least we got far more transparency out of him that we do than the average unbeliever. So we have to give him credit where credit is due.
I don't even know that he was an unbeliever. He sounds very familiar. He sounds almost identical to.
Darth, you do a really good job at exposing their position, not there being arbitrary, inconsistent, and yeah, you do because
Listen, I'm just asking questions that are derived from what Jesus Christ has said about himself. Okay? So if
yeah,
Jesus Christ reveals that he is God the Son manifested in the flesh, right?
yeah,
And he does not accept that, then I'm asking him to give an excuse. I'm asking him to give a defense of his world being not